In our passage this morning from Mark chapter 10, we're given the picture of Jesus making his way into Jerusalem. It's worth trying to visualize the scene. Imagine Jesus leading the way, followed almost in procession by his disciples, maybe those he was closest to first, then a whole host of more casual followers. At the end of chapter 8, Jesus had told his disciples that he was going to be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, that he was going to be killed and 3 days later rise again. In chapter 9, he'd repeated this, saying that he was going to be betrayed. So in our reading, we're told that his disciples who were closest to him were astonished. They would be. If any of us knew that was going to happen to us in Jerusalem, we'd probably be heading in the other that direction, away from it, not into it. The disciples couldn't believe that he was going there. The bigger crowd of casual followers, they were just frightened. And then Jesus explained even more precisely what was going to happen. He talked about the chief priests and the teachers of the law handing him over to the Gentiles, the Roman authorities, to be executed. Can you imagine the atmosphere? Well, it's in that setting that two of his closest disciples, James and John, ask if they can have the two best positions when he enters his glory. Basically, when it comes to the kingdom of heaven, they wanted to sit one on his left side and the other on his right. The two very best seats. Whatever made them ask that? Was it an example of how, when pressure builds, people tend to look after themselves? The sort of thing we all witnessed too clearly as lockdown began and the shops were cleared out of stock. And then we've got to ask, why did they think they should have those places? The New Testament suggests that these two disciples may have been cousins of Jesus. So was it a family connection that made them think that way? When Jesus first called these two to follow him, we're told that they left the father in the fishing boat with the hired men. So they had a fairly prosperous family business. Could it have been social status that made them think that they were more entitled to these seats than others? And then, along with Peter, James and John were also amongst the three who Jesus chose to be with him more than any when he was teaching about himself. Therefore, maybe a sense of possessing superior knowledge made them feel entitled to such a position. No matter how they tried to justify it, they weren't looking at the overall situation. They were focusing on themselves. Well, what we see is that Jesus' answer makes two things clear. Firstly, there are such places in heaven. There will be a sort of a hierarchy of believers one day, but who those places are given to is decided by God the Father. Secondly, the criteria for making that choice is suffering. Jesus uses two terms, cup and baptism, to indicate what he had to go through before he got to his glory. These terms would have been meaningful to James and John. The cup in the Old Testament symbolizes suffering. Baptism suggests being immersed in sorrow. By asking them, can you drink of the cup I drink of and be baptized with the baptism I'm baptized with, Jesus was asking, can you suffer like I'm going to? We have to recognize that a key component of the Christian gospel is that true discipleship entails suffering. In 1900, when Sir Ernest Shackleton sought people for his expedition to explore the South Pole, he put an advert in the Times newspaper which read, men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honour and recognition in case of success. That's the way Jesus presented discipleship. It's a call to follow Jesus as he was heading to Jerusalem. As our passage closes, Jesus tells his disciples plainly, the one who's greatest is the one who serves in the way that he served, laying down his life for others, which he was just about to do. Speaking practically, that's why in St. George's we talk about investing our lives in the lives of others. Not focusing on ourselves, but focusing on what we can do for others. True discipleship is never about what's in it for us. It's about self-denying, self-risking, self-giving service. That's the sort of person the highest place is reserved for in the kingdom of heaven.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fight till I'm found, leave the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fight till I'm found, leave the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Light up, mountains you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no walls you won't kick down, lies you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no you won't light up, mountains you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no walls you won't kick down, lies you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadows you won't light up, mountains you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no walls you won't kick down, lies you won't tear down, coming after me. Shadows you won't light up, mountains you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no walls you won't kick down, tear down. I couldn't hurt it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love.
How did the other disciples respond? What does it mean for us to invest our lives in the lives of others? Why not join us for one of our Zoom sessions this week, where we will be discussing these things together? Details of the times and how to join the groups are on the church website.